The medical bay of the sanctuary, humanity's last ark ship, hummed with the quiet rhythm of life support systems. In the center of the cavernous chamber lay a creature that should not exist. A dragon, massive and magnificent, its scales shimmering like fractured starlight even in stasis. Tubes and monitors connected to its ancient body, tracking vitals that barely registered as living. Evelyn Merrick entered the bay as she did every evening, her weathered hands clutching a worn datapad and a cup of synthetic tea. Her gray hair was tied back loosely, and her uniform, a simple caretaker's smock, bore the stains of decades of service. She approached the dragon without fear, her footsteps echoing softly against the metal floor. "Good evening, old friend," she whispered, placing her hand against the dragon's scaled flank. The surface was cool, almost cold, but beneath it she could feel the faintest tremor of a heartbeat. "I brought you something new today. A song from Earth. Well, what we remember of it." She settled into her chair beside the creature's massive head, unaware that high above in the observation deck, a figure watched her every movement. Emperor Kalen Dre stood motionless, his crimson robes pooling around his feet like blood on marble. His face, angular, severe, with eyes that glowed faintly gold, betrayed no emotion, but his clawed hands gripped the railing with barely contained intensity. The most powerful being in the known galaxy, ruler of 700 worlds, commander of fleets that could shatter planets, stood in secret and watched an elderly human woman sing to a dying dragon. He came here every night. No one knew. Not his generals, not his advisors, not even his personal guard. The Emperor would simply vanish for an hour, and the Empire learned not to question the absences of a demigod. Evelyn began to sing, her voice cracked with age, but carrying a melody that seemed to transcend the cold metal walls of the ship. It was a lullaby, something ancient, something that spoke of green hills and warm sunshine. Things most humans aboard the sanctuary had never seen except in archived recordings. The dragon's eyelid twitched. Just barely. Evelyn smiled and continued singing, her hand stroking the creature's snout with the familiarity of someone who had done this 10,000 times before. Above, Kalen's breath caught. His mother was singing again. His mother, not biologically, of course. He was Draconis Imperius, born of fire and cosmic energy, a species that evolved to rule galaxies. She was human, soft, fragile, ephemeral, and yet when he had been nothing but a hatchling, abandoned on a dying world during the Dragon Wars, it had been her hands that pulled him from the rubble. Her voice that soothed his terrified cries, her warmth that kept him alive when his own kind had left him for dead. She never knew what he would become. Evelyn finished her song and sighed contentedly. "You know," she said to the unconscious dragon, "I raised a little one like you once. Just a baby, really. Found him during the evacuation of Terminus 9. Poor thing was barely alive, all alone in the ruins." Kalen closed his eyes, memories flooding back unbidden. The destroyed colony, the smell of ash, the sound of her voice cutting through his pain like a beacon. "I kept him for 3 years. Evelyn continued, her voice growing softer, more distant. "Named him. Well, I called him Lucky. Probably not very creative, but he was lucky to be alive. I fed him, taught him to speak, sang to him every night just like this." She laughed quietly. "He grew so fast. One day he was small enough to curl up in my lap. The next he was taller than me." The Emperor's jaw clenched. He remembered. He remembered everything. "Then the Dragon Lords came," Evelyn said, her smile fading. "They said he was one of theirs, a lost prince or something. They took him away." She was quiet for a long moment. "I never saw him again. Sometimes I wonder if he remembers me at all. If I was just a footnote in the life of something meant for greatness." Kalen's claws dug into the railing, leaving deep grooves in the metal. Every fiber of his being screamed to reveal himself, to descend those stairs and tell her the truth, that he remembered every moment, every song, every touch. That she was the reason he survived, the reason he conquered, the reason he became what he was. But he couldn't. If she knew who he was, what he was, everything would change. The Empire had enemies. The Void Collective, the Machine Consensus, the Hive Queens of Andromeda, all of them sought weaknesses in the Emperor's armor. And Evelyn Merrick, a simple human caretaker aboard a refugee ship, was the greatest weakness he possessed. So he protected her the only way he could, through anonymity. The sanctuary received the finest resources, the best medical technology, absolute protection from any threat. Its crew never questioned why their aging vessel was afforded the same security as the Imperial Palace itself. And every night, he came to watch her sing. Evelyn stood, her joints protesting with age. Well, old friend, that's enough for tonight. You rest now. Maybe tomorrow you'll wake up. Maybe not. Either way, I'll be here. She patted the dragon's snout one final time and shuffled toward the exit, humming the same lullaby she had just sung. As the door hissed shut behind her, Kalen descended from the observation deck, his footsteps silent despite his size. He approached the Comatose dragon, his predecessor, the Emperor before him, mortally wounded in the war that had brought humanity to the edge of extinction. The dragon that had, ironically, been the one to take him from Evelyn all those years ago. She still doesn't know, Kalen murmured, placing his hand where Evelyn's had been moments before. And she never will. But I will ensure she lives her remaining years in peace, honored and protected, even if she never understands why. The dragon's eye opened slightly, glowing with ancient intelligence. A telepathic whisper entered Kalen's mind. You are a fool, boy. She would be proud. Perhaps, Kalen replied, his voice thick with emotion. But pride will not shield her from my enemies. Ignorance will. He turned and walked away, leaving the medical bay in silence. Tomorrow night he would return. And the night after that, and every night until either the dragon woke or Evelyn's mortal life reached its natural end. Because some debts could never be repaid. Some loves could never be spoken, and some guardians protected best from the shadows in the distance. Evelyn's humming echoed through the corridors of the sanctuary, and the Emperor of 700 Worlds found himself humming along.